Hello and welcome to Guns and Yellow Ribbons Live. I'm Fergus. I am your host tonight, and I'm joined by Mike, Johnny, and Jerome. But I would just like to shout out to Potsy, who was on another podcast recently. And actually, your real host is apparently Michael Parkinson. So if you listen to Arse Bros, you'll know the reference on that one. If you don't, it's all going to be lost on you. But lads, how are we doing? Mike, you were on that one. You thought that was quite an apt analogy, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought we were pretty well.
Johnny, how's your mic?
Mike's good.
The mic.
I am good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And Jerome, you're back on a less crowded house, so hopefully you can get a bit more opinion across.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to it.
No worries. We were going to have Trev on, but the Greeks have gone on strike and banned old internet or something like that. His internet's not just working, basically. So, but I was hoping to talk to him actually about the Vitória game, because he was out in Portugal and he said it was absolutely torrential rain. And it was just a horrible evening. Not only weather-wise, but also without the football was actually horrendous. We've got a couple of people jumping online now. We've got Ross. Good evening, Ross. Melina. No hat tonight, Mike. What's happening?
No hat tonight. It's in the wash.
It's in the wash. He's only got the one hat. I did bring a spare just in case.
Yeah, I'll just pop down to London and get
it. Mine got stolen along with my motorbike.
Your motorbike's gone?
Yeah, it got stolen on the end of November.
Oh wow!
End of November?
End of October. Sorry.
I'm gonna say, was they stolen in the future?
So the first thing to look at with the Vitória game is the kickoff. Alex comes along and says it was a ridiculous kickoff time. Obviously, I didn't watch it because it was during working hours. I was in a meeting, so I didn't see any of it at all. Honestly, I was in a meeting. Yeah, I was in a meeting. Look, we had a change in formation with a defensive back three with Holding, Socrates, and the goal scorer, your friend and ours, Mustafi. There was youngsters, Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, Kieran Tierney added to the attacking threat in the wings. What did you make of the lineup? Who wants to talk about this guy? We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because there's so much other stuff, and it's nearly a week ago now. Who wants to talk about it? Jerome?
To be honest, I was a bit surprised that he changed the lineup to a back three so early. Now, I thought he would go with what he normally had been going for. I can't say I was too impressed with the lineup, to be honest. You know, Maitland-Niles for me, not that great, but I expected them to play better. We had played better in Europa, but it was the same old that we've expected, to be honest, but come to expect, should I say.
And Potsy's just come up here and said about Michael Parkinson's a lot younger and a lot more stylish than the Irish Paul Merson. Potsy, I thought you were busy and you weren't available for the podcast. So on your bike, mate, on your bike. Mike, you
ain't got a car anymore.
No, you ain't got a car anymore. That's getting sorted. Mike, you watched some of the game, and what did you make of it?
It was the most boring match I've ever seen in my entire life. It was horrendous. I honestly thought it was absolutely horrendous. I've never seen anything like it ever. I wasted over an hour and a half. I'll never get back in my life again.
No, and it was 80 minutes. There was 80 minutes before our first effort on target in the match. That is horrendous. Johnny, what's gone wrong with, just the attacking side of things?
The whole team is disjointed. It's a phrase that's recurring, disjointed. It's that there's no cohesion in terms of tactics. Like we were saying in the last pod I was on, you used to be able to name the starting 11. most modern teams at the highest level really need to have a core of 7 or 8 players. We haven't got that. We can't. No, none of us can say for sure who the hell is going to play week to week. That's what's wrong.
And what did anybody think of Maitland-Niles? Because I thought he had a poor game, but even more so, what was more disappointing, and I suppose it links into the stuff that's come out in the news recently about that Chelsea have got implemented fines into their squad. But Maitland-Niles wearing jewellery, he's meant to be a professional footballer. Surely he should know you don't wear jewellery on the pitch. What did you make of that?
Well, he had a necklace on, didn't he?
Yeah, you a big gold chain.
I didn't say. I heard about it, but it's not unusual for players to wear something that they tuck in. As long as it's tucked away, it's all right usually. It's such a non-story. It's such a non-story. It's just a bit. I can't believe that we're actually talking about someone forgetting to take a bloody necklace off.
No, but for me, Johnny, you know what it is for me. For me, it just shows the pure indiscipline within the squad and within the club itself. And Wenger had fines apparently. It's a bit of a blurry picture, but you'll see it on there. He had fines for non-attendance of not turning up at home matches. You get £1,000 fine, late for training, between 250 and 500, and various other things. That he was fined, that he fined players for. And for me, that was probably powered by the captain Per Mertesacker. Chelsea have just done the similar sort of thing down at Cobham, but in fines as well. They're earning a fortune. They're very privileged lads. I don't mind them earning the money. I don't mind them doing that. But for Christ's sake, turn up for work and abide by the rules. The only thing they're allowed to wear, I think, is a wedding ring, but it has to be taped up.
I don't really see him forgetting to take off a necklace as the same thing as rife indiscipline. These kind of fines are pretty standard amongst the vast majority of clubs. Just whether or not they're made public is more pertinent to whether we're talking about it or not. The fact that they've volunteered this information at Chelsea just highlights the fact that they're earning so much money that they have to up the fines so much. I think one of the fines is like 20 grand. Something ridiculous like that. That just goes to show how much these guys are earning when they're out on loan in the Belgian 3rd Division.
Yeah. Anybody else? Does anybody else agree with me or not?
I just think.
Sorry, Jerome. Go on.
No, I don't think it is a problem, but I think he shouldn't be playing anyway. So, the fact that he was wearing jewelry on the pitch, probably he thought, I don't really care. I'm not bothered. He doesn't seem bothered on the pitch. He's not bothered by anything. So I think we do need to implement fines for someone like that. So
yeah, he does have a very nonchalant attitude, and I think we've mentioned it a few times in previous podcasts that he seems, quite relaxed. Was trying to probably be polite about it, but obviously,
yeah.
He doesn't seem to be as focused on his job as he should be. Mike, do you agree or disagree? I know I'm making a deal about this because it really wound me up.
No, I just think it's a nothing thing. It's obviously he probably just forgot. It happens in life, you forget things, don't you? If you wear it all the time, then you do forget about it. It's like anything. I mean? Sometimes I forget to take off my wedding ring if I'm doing the washing up or something. It's just something stupid like that. It's a nothing story. I think it's been blown way out of proportion.
Yeah, to be honest, Nigel McGrath has said the necklace thing is a non-story, but unfortunately, the way things are at the moment, the media will run and keep it going negative. I don't think the media got on about it. It's probably more me than anything else, and I'm definitely not the media. But we have had breaking news. Melina's got some contacts within the club, and she's given us Emery has issued some fines. And if we win, the players get fined £2,000. For defending, the players get fined £10,000. Passing to Ozil is £2,000. Being nice to Shaq is £3,000. Being playing in a preferred position, 20,000. Johnny, that must be what you were talking about, the £20,000 fine. And playing a long ball, £7,000, and defending again twice in the game, it's a £15,000 fine. It looks like Emery is getting some control over the dressing room by the looks of things, isn't he?
Yawn.
Thank you. I'm not the only one.
Right. So our Europa League competition ended our 100% record. And that was with Bruno's 91st minute equaliser. Arsenal's fourth consecutive draw in all competitions in a turbulent week. Obviously, we went and lost at Leicester. We're on 10 points. Leipzig beat Frankfurt, so they're now on 6 points. Could we mess this up? We're on 10 points. Frankfurt have to come to us, and Frankfurt have got to go to Victoria. So in theory, they could get 12 points. Standard Liège have got to come to us. In theory, they could, could we end up not qualifying to the next stages?
In theory, we could, yeah.
I think that if we keep saying what will be the final now and Emery's coughing, I think if we get knocked out by these teams in the group stages and he doesn't get fired, I will not go to another game this season.
The final nail in the coffin for me was
Leicester. Until he gets fired, obviously.
Well, listen, Europa League, I tried.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it, mate. It really wasn't. It was a terrible game.
You guys are just like, chuck us a bone. Chuck us a bone.
So I can't chuck you a bone over a game like that, mate. I really can't. It was terrible.
Well, the biggest problem was playing with starting with Ceballos in as a defensive midfielder. As simple as that. The starting lineup changed it. We couldn't go forward. What could we expect, really? And that's all we could see. We were going to be on the back foot the whole game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We was on the back foot the whole game. We shouldn't have drew. In all fairness, it shouldn't have been a draw. We should have lost.
We were on our arse the whole game, let alone the back foot.
Yeah, they could have they hit the bar a couple of times, hit the post. They could have been about 3 or 4 goals up. We didn't offer, as I said, was only one shot on target, but we'll see. Listen, Mike, you went up to Leicester at the weekend. Never going to be an easy. Never going to be an easy game, and I think when we were on the podcast last week, none of us, at best, I said we get a draw. None of us predicted that we'd win. For 68 minutes, in the match positives on Arsenal Fans Forum, I put in we were all right for 68 minutes. Listen, I'm not saying we're brilliant. I don't think we deserve to win the game, but we're holding our own. There was a disallowed goal by Aubameyang. I think it was offside. I can't remember exactly what it was, but
it was offside.
Offside. Tell us about it up there, Mike. Go on. It's over to you.
Well, what do you want me to say? I think we were lucky for 68 minutes not to concede 3 or 4 goals. I don't know what else you want me to say about. In all fairness, mate, I don't know what game some people were watching. I just couldn't get my head around how poor in front of goal Leicester were being. I thought they were a bit more ruthless than that.
Okay, Jerome, what did you make of it?
I was a bit disappointed for once. I'm a Lacazette fan, and for me, he had a couple opportunities to change the game. We weren't great, but for once, our counters were a bit more punchier than normal for once, and we could have got something out of that game if he had 2 clean opportunities for me and just fluffed them. Leicester weren't as sharp as they normally seem to be, especially the Southampton game. They went on to, 9-0. They weren't on that kind of form, but I did feel we could have probably come out with something from that game up to that point, and then it just went all horribly wrong after about 68 minutes.
And what did you make of the back 3, lads? Johnny, do you want to talk about the back 3?
I think if we played it a little bit last season, but we haven't played it at all really in the league this season, and it seemed like It could have worked. I mean, I saw little glimpses of Luiz stepping out from the back and into midfield to spray a few balls around, which he has the skill and range to do. But I just don't think that we've played enough. It clearly looked like we hadn't trained enough in that formation. So I don't know whether something happened before the game that made us change things up a bit. But I think it's for the players that we've got and the fact that we need to defend better and utilise our very strong wing backs, one of which we didn't play. We should be playing something like this, but we really do need to have a stronger defensive midfielder.
This is a thing that I think a lot of people were saying. This was everyone's, I would say, a lot of people's formation that they wanted Arsenal to play with. You know, you've got Leno in goal. You've got three at the back with Chambers and Holding and Luiz. You've got the two wing backs, barring Tierney. You know what I mean? You've got the two wing backs with Bellerin and obviously Kolasinac. And then you've got the two in midfield with Torreira and Guendouzi. You've got Ozil just in front of them. And then you've got the two forwards. That's pretty much everyone's perfect setup for Arsenal. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. And I think I've heard quite a fair few people say that that's going to be one of the best setups that we could go out, and I just think it failed miserably. I think, like I say, we were looking to probably nick a goal in that. We had the chances, but again, them chances were wasted, and unfortunately, I think Leicester wasted more chances than we had on target.
And what was the atmosphere like in the stadium? Because you said to me that there was a little bit of needle between the Arsenal fans and the Leicester fans.
Yeah, towards the end of the game, yeah, it was starting to kick off a bit. I felt the atmosphere turn around half time. The complaints, there was a silent complaint sort of coming around, and you could sort of feel it. And then obviously when the first goal went in, it just sort of turned a bit. There was there was pockets of it turned, and you could feel it changing. But there's also the fact that a lot of people were still singing. There was, it was still quite a good atmosphere, and with a fair whack of fans.
There was a very loud cry for you're getting sacked in the morning.
That was from the Leicester fans.
That was from Leicester fans.
That was from the Leicester fans.
How did that get
it just came towards, I think about the 80 between 80 and 85 minute. You just started hearing that you're getting sacked in the morning, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of Arsenal fans were clapping. From what I saw, anyway.
It came across on the audio, on the stream that I was watching. That when they started singing, it sounded like there was some cheering coming from our lot. But
there wasn't cheering; there was clapping. I didn't hear cheering. There's a few jeers at the Leicester fans for singing it. I wouldn't say cheering, but there was quite a fair whack of people clapping and accepting the fact, he needs to go. You know what I mean? And this is what a lot of people are saying. And obviously, I'm just reiterating the fact that this is what's happening at the minute.
We ran a poll, which I'll bring up in a few minutes before we finish this game. Hector Bellerin, what did you guys make of Hector Bellerin?
He's still not up to pace. He's still not up to pace.
I still think he's not. Sorry, Jordan. Go on.
I just think he's a few games. I think he's a few games from being fully fit. He goes forward quite well, but he's still lacking in his defensive. He got nutmegged for the Maddison goal, well out of position, dragged himself in, but then just came forward. So I think he needs proper game time. The 1 or 2 games in Europa wasn't good enough. Simple as that. It wasn't enough from him. That was probably not the best game for him to kind of come back into the starting 11 either. That is quite a hard task when we're playing away. We don't have great away form. But I just think he's just off the pace. A couple more games away and that would have been a different game for him. But it's a bit harsh on him in a minute. But yeah, to go into a back 5 as well probably didn't help. Because I found it confused him and Chambers.
Well, on that point, Johnny, I'll bring you in a second. On that point, because I had a conversation on I don't know, some message group or whatever, or on some thread about Bellerin, and somebody was trying to make excuses saying Bellerin was okay, and they were trying to blame Chambers about first or second goal, but half the time it's because either Bellerin is too far up the pitch and Chambers was coming across to cover for him, and that was in the first goal. And the second goal was Bellerin keeps on going inside, and he'd done this before, keeps on going inside and goes into the middle of the box, and Chambers is going to have to cover his spot, and the ball went between Bellerin's legs for the second one. I think that was a Maddison goal. So
Yeah.
I've got a point on that actually. Before I want to go for Johnny, Chambers. I think it was right. I think the person says it was Chambers. I think Chambers has a lot to deal with that, because at the end of the day, if Bellerin's pushing up forward, this is why you've got a back three. Chambers needs to come across and defend that spot. That's the whole point of that formation. There's also the fact is, I think as well with Guendouzi and Torreira, there wasn't really getting back enough to be, for him to obviously to come inside. So yeah, I get that point. I honestly do. And after watching the game, and I've watched it back, I think that is a good point actually, and I'll fully accept that.
And Guendouzi didn't have a great game either, did he?
No, he's suffering from fatigue. I think he's played in every game so far this season. So far this season, and I think he is suffering from it now. But you've got, I think, like Jerome says, you've got to give Bellerin a bit of credit. At least he's coming back. He's trying to fight. Yeah, he's making mistakes. Who isn't making mistakes in that team? And it's but you've got to think of this as well. There was two players. I nearly swore then. There was two players who actually turned up and clapped the fans after the game, and Bellerin was one of them, and Guendouzi was the other. No one else did.
Johnny,
I found it quite a hard watch, to be honest with you, because it was pretty much what I expected. I mean, I did actually, on our prediction, they predict a 2-0 loss. With a heavy heart. I know Trevor will say that all of us that said we was going to lose are not real Arsenal fans, but there's a difference between the head and the heart. And our good friend Trev has a lot of heart. But I think there is nobody that I know would have said that we was going to storm that match and actually show the kind of Arsenal performance we wanted to see. But I'm all at loss at the moment with the team that I love. It just seems like it's so far away from where we feel we should be, and where, when you look at it dispassionately, where we think that where we could be with the right leadership.
And that leadership on or off the pitch, we talked about the Victoria game, that the first shot, or the only shot on target, was a dead ball, and it was the goal that Mustafi got. We had one shot on target in the Leicester game. I don't think we had a shot. Was this the game that we didn't have a shot on target after 32 minutes?
I think so.
I don't know. A lot of the play in the Leicester game.
Some of the stats that are going around at the minute are just unreal. But, Tony Adams, and I've got a note written down on here as well. Tony Adams was digging out Holding before and after the game on the BT coverage. But Tony Adams would have got hold of that squad and come along and said, "Listen, mate, you're dragging. You're dropping your game. You need to up your game." And there's no way, I don't think, even in our darkest days, that we've looked so rudderless, so leaderless, so, I don't know, as you said, it's the feckless.
No one's willing to take ownership to being bad. They're just kind of like, we'll make it better. No one's willing to say, as you say, grab everyone else by the back of their neck and just drag them forward. Sometimes we want to see some of, Sterling's aggression. I'm sorry to bring him up, but the way he was on Sunday, a bit of fight. We're not seeing no fight from our players at the moment at all. The
only one who did was Guendouzi and Xhaka at one point, and Guendouzi, as Mike said, is knack, and Xhaka is, gone.
Yeah.
Hopefully gone in January.
In all the wrong areas.
Yeah.
Go on, Jerome, carry on.
Well, I just it's horrible to see. I can't work out, even though like a lot of people wanted Aubameyang as captain. He's not a player who's going to drag everyone forward himself. You know, even on the pitch, how much fight do we get from him? As much as he can score, he can find the goal here and there. He's not got that fight. He doesn't even jump up for a header when it goes up. It frustrates me. It goes up and he's just looking for, oh, is he going to miss it? No, maybe I'm around. You know, there's no one willing to actually just put themselves on the line for us at the moment. And I think that's what we really miss. Someone that's willing to put themselves on the line, face in front of the ball, and show the rest of the team, come on, this is what we need to be doing. We're really missing that.
No, I get that. And listen, we're winless in 5 games in the Premier League. Our last one was beating Newcastle away 1-0, which was the first game of the season. So we've won 1 game away from home since last season. Has Dick or Emery, has he lost the dressing room? Heath asks.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Go on, Johnny.
Go on, Johnny.
I was going to say, I think it looks pretty clear that he's lost the dressing room. It doesn't look like anybody's really going out of their way to show that we're behind the manager. You don't see, anytime we score a goal, you don't see any of the players running over to the touchline or signalling to the touchline like you would if you had like a quite supportive team that who are playing for the manager. We're not getting that. And we're not seeing the Emery we had last season either. So where he was remonstrating.
What was the Emery that we had last season then, Johnny? Because I was still a little bit confused. I could see progress and change, but I've never seen the protagonist. I think that was the word he used.
Yeah.
And he talked about pressing. We saw a little bit of pressing in the first 2 or 3 games, but I haven't seen anything more from there. He was talking about, like, bringing youth through. He has with the aid of Freddie. But he was talking about leaders and fighting and his stuff from Sevilla's time and so on. And then if you weave in the issues he's had with big names and big stars and PSG, what has he? What's that? What did you see last season then?
Well, we saw bravery in the halftime substitutions. We saw tactical changes that we've not had. I mean, for God's sake, we was having substitutions not bang on 70 minutes. That's what that kind of spoiltness that we've had as Arsenal fans is. We know when the subs are coming, let alone what team we're going to play or how we're going to play. But now, there's no consistency. There's no regularity. There's no predictability to whether we're playing. But last season, we were getting a little bit of change that we would like to see. We had Torreira actually playing as a DM for a start.
Very early on, yeah.
Very early on. And then we had the lovely change of having a manager actually going bloody mental in the technical box. Actually, no, sorry, technically not in the technical box. He never is. But still, at the end of the day, we're not seeing that kind of the same kind of bravery that we had last season. And in the last few games that we've seen that he's the dead man walking, but he's not been up on that touchline as much as he has been.
Quiet. He has been very quiet.
It's been tailing off this season. Since the beginning of the season, I remember sitting in the North Bank at the beginning of the season and seeing them, really going at it to the players. And you've seen it tail off. Every game, it's a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less.
95 Winston says, what are Emery's tactics? They don't make any sense. He should be taken to court for killing our attack. I think you type of half touched on that. Mike, do you have anything to add on that, like on 95 Winston's comments there?
No, yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself, to be fair. It's quite good at that. I like it. The only thing I can think of, was going to say about Emery is I think the pressure's got to him. The pressure's got to him. Oh, 100%.
Okay. Listen, the Gooner debate. Now we go into. There's a few different things going on. Aubameyang, he's come under. Oh, let's get rid of that one. We've done that. Aubameyang's come under a bit of pressure because he's let Troops and DT apparently use his box, and he's come out
So
on
bloody what?
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say the same.
So bloody what? I mean, just because a player wants to ingratiate himself with the fans, who is now he's one of our captains. Before the whole Xhaka thing, he was one of the captains, if not the vice captain. So if he feels like it is appropriate, I don't disagree with him to reach out to different fan groups. We might not agree with everything that AFTV does. A lot of us find it, not representative of the general populace in the Emirates. But at the end of the day, it's whatever he wants to do with his box. That's up to him.
Yeah.
Who he talks to is none of our business. It's not as if he's talking to Harry Kane, is it?
Well, who can talk to Harry Kane?
Well, I said talk to him. He didn't. He didn't have to listen and actually understand. But at the end of the day, he's got Arsenal fans. No matter whether you agree with their point of view or how they choose to express it, they are still Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
So this is yet again another non-story in that we're loving the feasting on the negativity around the club. That's why AFTV got so bloody big, because people love a bit of negativity. And at the moment, we are literally like gremlins with a bit of water. We just may as well send them out in the rain, because we're like gremlins at the moment.
Feeding them after midnight.
Exactly. Feeding them after midnights and getting them wet. Sounds like my ex-girlfriend.
Lost on me. Behave yourself.
Bloody hell, it's old. It's not as old as you, is it, that film? But it's not far off.
No, he missed it entirely. It was too young for him at the time.
Just missed it completely.
When it comes to movies, I watch movies. I'm like a goldfish. I forget them. That's why I love watching Fever Pitch again and again and again and again.
Figures when you fast forward through the porno and only see 5 minutes of it, it's easy to forget it.
5 minutes. I heard you're a player. Right, listen. We said let's make some noise. Let's hear it for the noise. Apparently, the board gave a briefing which was poorly judged in terms of tone. Are we able to support the team and Unai Emery? As Arsblog said, we are fans and not cheerleaders, but can our match-going fans bring the right kind of noise to the Emirates? And I know Manny and Max and Mike and Potsy did on Ask Bros. They talked about some sort of action, which I've seen on Twitter as well, which is like season ticket holders should not turn up to games, and season ticket holders should do this, and season ticket holders should do that. You work hard for £1,000 to get your season ticket, Mike. I know you won't ever not go to a game if given the opportunity, home or away. You'll go, Johnny.
I was going to say, I was going to interrupt you there. If there was enough support behind it and everyone got behind it, if I was a season ticket holder, I think the talk is missing the first half hour. I understand that people pay a lot of money for these season tickets. And it's not for everyone. But I could fully get behind something like that if it's going to make a change, if it's going to make the board listen to the fans. That's what's drastic actions sometimes must be taken, and I think something like that it'd make an impact.
Why not turn up, sing your songs for the Arsenal, sing your songs against the board, the manager?
That was another conversation.
Noise, make the right noise.
Yeah, there is that. Sorry, I was going to say, there is that. It's singing the right songs as well. I think that Defiant song at the minute, which seems to be going around, is the Mesut Ozil song.
It is.
And instead of putting his Unai's man, they're singing his Arsene Wenger's man. Well, You're not really. It's not really going against the board. It's not really. It's just making. It's just making our fans, I think, look a bit stupid. It's like sing the right songs. Go against the board. If you got a problem with Emery, sing something about Emery. If you got, the biggest issue is it's going to be the board and the owners. Let's get a song for the owners. Make our voices heard and be a bit more unified in it rather than singing about Mesut Ozil. I think that's just a stupid thing to do.
There is a change to the Mesut Ozil song, which was I think it's he's Unai Emery's man. He understands, and somebody shouts out, "Does he?" And that sort of thing. Like Joanne has been on with us before. Joanne is from the We Care Do You campaign, and again they came into criticism on Twitter, and they came into a lot of criticism on the Arse Bros podcast. But she does make a point that is coming in late is ill effective because half the ground's already empty. People leave 10 minutes beforehand to get a beer because the service is that, well, she says 15 minutes, but 10 minutes beforehand to get a beer because the service is that awful. People are on an evening game, even Champions League when things were great, 5 minutes before the game, 10 minutes before the game on a 7:45 kickoff, there's still guys walking in with suits and briefcases. So, that the thoughts of saying stay away for the first half hour, I think is ill-effective. Johnny, what do you think? Because you go there all the time as well. So, what do you think?
We've been talking about making the right noises and singing the right songs. If you sing a protest song, how is that any different to booing? I mean, honestly, there is no difference. But honestly, I think what we could do is turn our backs, literally turn away from the pitch. Yeah. I think visually that would make a huge difference. I mean, unless we start a specific song along the lines of "Give the Job to Freddie" or "Emery F off" or something specific.
Why can't we just do "We Love You, Freddie"? Just to
sing Freddie's song. Sing Freddie's song.
You've just give a good one there, like give the job to Freddie. You could sing that song. That's quite an easy one. It's catchy and it'll get going. I'm sure it would. That'd make a good one. Give the job to Freddie.
He does have a record to get songs going, doesn't he?
Well, this is it. So there's a good one there. What I was saying is about the for the coming in late, in 30 minutes late, and what we was all discussing. It's an option. All right, it may be ineffective, and for everything else there. So, where we were just spitballing. So, someone come up with come up with ideas, get the fans unified. I think that's more than what we were saying.
Come on, Jerome.
I've always thought that coming in late, partially, would never work. We need to look back at what happened with Champions League when Bayern Munich came to us, when it was how much per ticket for the away fans? I can't remember exactly how much it was. And they made a point and they all walked out. It changed. Now, you look at Liverpool a few years ago at Anfield, were upset. Their fans were upset about the price that their ticket prices went up to, were about to go up to. They made a point and walked out at a certain point. That is the only way. As much as it will pain me, and I work hard to make sure I can get to the games, I'll walk out. And I think we need enough of us to walk out. If it means our team has to play 45 minutes, at halftime, no one else is there, 30 minutes left of the game. That's more of a point when all of the crowd. Sorry?
Is there not too many tourists there? Is there not too many people who will have, be it like, your genuine tourists, or be it your, a guy like yourself, or somebody coming over from Ireland want to watch the game and they follow Arsenal. There's not too many of them. They're gone, Christ, it's cost me €400 to get over here.
Maybe, but you know what? Season ticket holders, there are enough of us. If we were to empty, say, 60% of the seats that are filled by Arsenal, that would make a big difference. And we need to make.
I didn't go to the Wolves game,
but when we have to unify at a game, I think we need to unify rather than just kind of talking about it. We need to unify at a particular moment. Other clubs do it, but none of us seem to want to unify together.
Well, I think that's where Joanne and she's put a comment on here saying the problem is 2 years ago we protested against the board and Wenger not like nobody really turned up. I for one, and we talked about this previously. I for one, after the Man City defeat and the display we had at Man City in the League Cup in February, I didn't go back to the Emirates until I knew Wenger was gone. Are going, and then I went back for, I think there was a game that I always go to traditionally with a family member, and then the Burnley au revoir, the end of season sort of thing, which I would always go to the end of the season regardless. So I don't think we have a strong enough family like the Scouts have done 77 minutes, and they done. I don't know what the significance about the 77 minutes, but they've done something about 77 minutes, and sent a message to their board, and their board listened. I don't think we've got that.
We have the opportunity.
The 77 minutes was about the top rated ticket. The top ticket was going to go out to £77, but that's still cheaper than some of our tickets, and they were outraged. Some of our tickets, £126 in some of
£128 for the top league price ticket in non-corporate, non-platinum, just in normal seats, and then add on your booking fees, and then stick on £5.70 for a pint of. I don't really like Camden. A pint of Camden. I for the second time in all my time going to the Emirates, I ended up getting food. I was that hungry at it might have been the Palace game. I picked up a pie. There was 2 tiny bits of meat in there with some gravy, and it was £5, I think, or £4.90 for a pie. It's just absolutely shocking.
The pies used to be. I have to say, I obviously a man that likes his pies. And they used to be nice pies, and they used to be named after players. I think that there was a steak and ale one.
Now that's a Piebry Corner.
No. I remember at some point they had some like funny names on them, like Piebry Corner.
Okay,
but they don't care. It's about getting the money in. That's why they have the crap hot dogs. That's why they have the crap other stuff that is just ridiculously inflated in price. It's not about the quality or the speed of service. If they wanted to concentrate on that, there are so many different ways they could do it. Unfortunately, the scum up the road are showing us up as to how quickly you can get people served, whether it be for booze or food or anything like that, because they're set up to get as many people served with good stuff as possible. And unfortunately, I do know some scumbags and tell me that it's actually quite nice. I mean, compared to other places they've been to, they say it's pretty good.
In fairness, the stadium is the latest stadium in the country, so it is going to be pretty good. Like when people came from, I know people hark back to Highbury, and I understand and I get that. But as a facility, when people moved from Highbury to the Emirates was state of the art. I still think, even though Wembley came afterwards, the Emirates is a better stadium than Wembley. And those down the road are probably going to have a fantastic stadium. They've learned by the mistakes of Wembley, West Ham, Arsenal in some of the layout and design. So, good luck to them. The more better stadiums that are in this country, the better, because if we want to do a World Cup bid, you've now got a lot of good stadiums in the city. So at least we don't have that horrible. You didn't like Old Trafford, did you, Mike?
No.
It was dreadful, wasn't it?
Put it nicely, it was a shithole. I apologise for swearing, but that's as nice.
That doesn't
that's as nice as I can put it.
That doesn't go on the Richter scale. That's
the wrong stadium.
Can I just ask? Well, I'm going to say, can I just reply to Joanne here? I know we're saying about like trying to unify the fans and stuff like that, and everyone seems to be split. That hashtag We Care Do You, Joanne, I know, is a part of that. They had the perfect opportunity when they got that petition out. They had thousands of people, myself included, to sign.
Momentum.
That's what I mean. They got that, and I think it was one of the comments. Which one was it? I'm sorry, I can't remember which one it was. There was a comment on there about when Wenger, when the board and Wenger protested. not nearly people. One good result and people forgot. I know there's a lot of fans out there that are criticising #WeCareDU, and I think it's by rightly so, because I am one of them. It's all right saying that, for instance, about one good result, but we had a lot of it was down. A lot of this thing during the summer was about signings and obviously other things as well, safe standing and everything else. But it seems to be that with this #WeCareDU, we got Pepe, we got Tierney, we got Ceballos on loan, and they just seemed to disappear. You're off the radar, and you had all that momentum to keep going. Now you should have kept on going with that momentum. Make a voice. You had the perfect opportunity to unite the fans against what's going on now, especially with what's going on now. I'm not saying to him like get behind everyone saying Emery out. I'm not saying that at all, because I think that's a bit silly to do. But we've got to go against the board now, and obviously the ownership and the way things are going, and it's not going right. Where have you gone? You've just disappeared into the background. And I think what people are asking for is voice a bit more, just try and show the fans that you're still here before the Leicester game, like way before. We should have been hearing something. Maybe make a few statements or something saying like, this is what we're doing. You don't have to explain everything, but at least show that you're actually doing something, rather than just go off the radar ever since Pepe was signed. And that's what it seems to be. As soon as we signed Pepe, where was you? There's no one to be found.
Right.
That's why everyone's frustrated with that #WeCareDU, and that's why people have got so angry with it and asking, where have you been?
We could have taken the momentum that we built from reacting to what we felt was negative, and then taken that passion and that support and that swell of support for the movement into something positive. We could just so that the WeCareDU movement, as you could call it, then just to keep it ebbing along, so we knew that it was still going rather than just dying a death, because all of that momentum that we built up, all of that attention is gone.
Exactly. They're like Jerry Rafferty and Baker Street, mate. One it wonders. That's how it comes across, and that's how bad it is. And it shouldn't have been like that. It should have been. We should have been still there, not making. I'm not asking you to make noise every game, but just keep showing that you're still there, making a statement, saying just tell the fans what you're doing. You don't have, like I say, you don't have to explain exactly what you're doing, but just say we're having a meeting this week, or we're doing this week, or we're arranging this week. So that's perfect timing.
I've just hung up on them. I don't know who the hell it is. Listen, Joanne is sending some messages in the comments in here. One of the first ones that she said was, which I put up earlier, the problem is that people want action to remove Emery, but let's not forget the same people who are saying we back Emery are the ones recruiting the next manager. The focus has to be on the board. And
that's what I was saying. That's why I mentioned saying we're not asking you to say, let's jump out and say we want Emery out, because I don't think that's the right way to go about it. It needs to be with the powers above him, and that's where I think the action needs to be taken, and the sites need to be,
And Mike, sorry, I just flicked the wrong switch. Mike, I'm in contact with Joanne, and she's a very nice lady, very well spoken, and very well connected within the club. I do know that can somebody do this? I got to take a phone call. 1 second, just carry on. 1 second, I'll put you back on there.
Can I just stick that comment up, Fergus, because there's a comment that Joanne's made there, and obviously with us being on the phone. Sorry, guys, I've blocked you two out.
Can I just say about the WeCareDU? It was a message to the Cronkies before. It was like it was telling the Cronkies, we care, but do you? Now we could have turned it into a more positive thing and showing support for the club and the manager and the changes that were happening, and going from as a fan turning to fans who are beside you still being negative after all those changes and saying, look, I care and I'm showing it, but do you care? You need to show that you support the team. Not necessarily being the cheerleader that we was commenting on before, but actually turning around and saying, look, we care. And we want you to show that you care too. And you do that by turning up and singing and chanting and not booing. Some people might deserve a boo, but you cheer the players that do deserve to be cheered and not focus on the players that don't need to be cheered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually turning it into something as a rallying cry for other fans around you by saying, I care, and you need to show that you care too.
But I think we also need to show as fans that we actually care as well, and not just, unite together rather than just throwing stones at.
Agreed.
Throwing stones at each other. I think that's the worst thing about it. And like I say, and what I'll just repeat what I said earlier about that we care to you. That was the perfect opportunity to unite the fans, to get them behind everyone, everyone to join together in that sort of sense. Because like we were saying about AFTV, we've got ourselves, we've got, the listeners of, Guns and Yellow Ribbons, as listeners of many other podcasts like Arse Bros and Arsecast and Arse Blog, people like that, everyone's shouting a different thing. So it's a case of, we've got to sort of, if you're going to do this against the board and show your support and do something like a walkout or a miss out, or something along them lines. I'm just spitballing. I can't come up with the idea myself. I'm not trying to do that, but that weekend you do should have united people.
I think our point has got across a lot on that. As I was trying to say before, I was really interrupted for the second time. Joanne does agree, and it looks like they have disappeared. But from me speaking to her, they are doing an awful lot behind the scene. But what they're trying not to be is trying not to be the noise that we talk about. They're not trying to be the noise. They're trying to be more effective and try and target it at the right level, and just not be kids, fans in a tantrum. They're trying to be effective and deal
being the grown-ups rather than the terrible twos making a tantrum.
But you can still be the noise as well as do things grown up. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I get the tantrum stage and everything. I get that, but you can also make noise by being respectful and grown up about it. That can still happen.
And Mike, you've got your point across really, really well.
I'll shut up.
But that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it across in the right way. You're dealing with businessmen. You're dealing with multimillionaires. As Mem says on here, all they're interested in, the club, they're only interested in the pound note. That's all. They don't care like we care. They don't care like we care. Do you care? Oh God, that's a lot of care.
No, but the hashtag only, I have to agree with Joanne, though. It disappeared purely because we was all more positive coming the beginning of the season. We can't say that we wasn't.
I agree.
Was we gonna continue saying, "Oh, do you care?" Well, they showed us something. I'm happy with Pep as a signing because I think that was a good signing. It was a lot of money. Let's forget the money side. Don't even get me started on that comment, because I talk about Zaha every week. What has he done apart from buy a penalty against us? I'm not interested. But
just so people know who listens to the audio, Mem has put up, we signed the wrong Ivorian winger. Mem is a very big, I know Mem, hello mate, he's a very big Zaha fan, but carry on.
I think Zaha's a very good player. But then I also look at the fact that Pep has had to change his life. So it hasn't worked. But then under a different manager, would he be a different player? We've complained about the style that Emery's played this whole season with not just Pep, with Torreira, with playing the defensive line, not playing Tierney as much as we have now, playing Ceballos so deep. So a lot of things would change under a different manager. So I don't think we've signed the wrong player. And we was all happy with it start of the season, but Emery started to show himself. So now we have to start talking about we want change. Had Emery started this season and gone on progressively and won a few more games rather than these draws, would we still be sitting here saying that we wanted to hear from them so early?
I think at the beginning of the season, like Jerome was saying, we all came on this podcast and said, I'm really happy with those signings. I think we've done really good business. I think we're really going to push on now. But just like other fans of other teams who really thought they were really going to push on, like the Evertons and other teams that have spent some good money. We haven't, but we're doing better than they are. We spent a lot of money, but we're doing better than some of the Evertons of this league. We're doing better than the West Hams of this league. But then again, we should be, because we're a bigger club, and we've got some world class. We've got a couple of world class players.
This is our worst start since 1982-83. We don't have Trev. I was hoping that we'd get Trev, that he could remember those days, because I wasn't following Arsenal Football Club in those days. I was a little kid at school in Ireland, and none of you do. You're right there, Johnny. It looks like he's falling over.
I'm plugging in my laptop.
All right, he's run out of charge. Yeah, but it's the worst starts in 1982. Listen, we done a poll about the manager, because there's a lot of links about the manager and who should replace him. The first thing that we done was we done one on Guns and Yellow Ribbon's Facebook page, and we had 1,400 votes, and it came in at 93% wanting Emery out. And if this screen will work, on Twitter, we had 841 votes, so nearly 2,000 votes, and it came in almost identical as the same, with 93% wanting Emery out. And I don't necessarily think it's aimed directly at Emery. He's not the guy, Yeah, okay. Move on. Next guy comes in. But who would you like to see? Rodgers has been linked and replaced Emery. But he's been given a chance at Leicester, who are further up the table and look like they have a better chance getting Champions League football than us currently. We were linked to him in the past, and nobody wanted Brenda in at that time. Would you have him? If not, who would you have? There's talk today on Talk Sport about Vieira. Let's talk about Give It to Freddie, as we said about putting the Freddie song up. Who wants to go first?
I think we spoke on the last podcast about who we would like to give it to, and we were talking about Nagelsmann and Brenda and Vieira and Arteta and all these different names.
It's been done to death, hasn't it?
It has, but I think the most appealing for the fans, to try and get a bit of positivity back from the fan base, is probably a Vieira, Freddie, and getting Dennis back into the club as well. That would buoy the club up, but I don't think tactically it's the most shrewd move. We need to do what we did with Wenger and take the time and do the research and find the next big tactical move coming, and then chance our arm and then put our money on the unknown name or the person that people don't really agree with, and actually stick with it. Maybe that's what we thought we were doing with Emery.
Yeah, the thing is, I know a lot of people are saying about Brendan Rodgers, that ship sailed. That's gone. He's not coming. It would be pointless for him to leave somewhere like Leicester, where he's doing really well. He's building his team around what he wants. He's getting back in with finances and everything else. He won't do it. There's no point for him. It's not worth it, and it won't be worth it. So we've got to look at, like Johnny said, we've got to look at someone new. If just get rid of that comment.
Mourinho,
get him off. Get out. Just stop watching. Get out.
I do not want Mourinho.
You're not wanting. Get out.
Anthony, I know you've been plastering this all over Facebook, all over everywhere else. No, it's. I'm trying to get rid of it. It's like a disease. It's like a disease.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, carry on. We got thrown off with that one.
No,
Mem just said. Yeah, Mem just said that Wenger didn't need any time. Wenger picked up the best defense in the league and had a really good foundation to build on. He had Bergkamp already there when he got there. He didn't sign Bergkamp. I know quite a few young fans thought that he signed Bergkamp, and he didn't. Bruce Rioch did.
Yeah.
So in terms of Wenger not needing time, he didn't need time because he was the right man. It was the board that took the time. It was David Dean that took the time to find the right man. That's what I'm saying, that we need to take the time to find the right man. And maybe that's what they thought that they were doing with Emery, that he was going to be the right man. But he wasn't the right man because he needed his number two that had left him to become a manager in his own right. The tactical brain, as it were. We're not going to get Rafa Benitez because we can't afford him. We're not going to get
China.
Exactly. We're not going to get Brendan Rodgers because he's in a better project, in a better position than us.
But would Rodgers not come just because
he wouldn't come. And we could throw 20 million a year at him. We can't get him into the Champions League without going through the end of the season and spending a lot of money in January. We ain't going to get it. So what we need for us to progress as a team is to find someone that's going to give us that bounce at the right time and get maybe one or two players in January that will get us to the end of the season and scrape at qualification.
Johnny, it's offensive. A little bit controversial. Anybody think Fat Sam?
No, for God's sake, no.
Jesus Christ.
That's worse than Mourinho. Get out.
I have to say, you're lucky I ain't got a motorbike at the moment because I'll be coming around your bloody house.
Yeah, I think
you're lucky I'm about 300 miles away.
Jesus. Oh my God.
Hang on, I'm just booking a train ticket now. No, I disagree with Johnny. I think Rafa Benitez, I think he probably would turn up, and I think we can afford him. I don't know where people get this idea of we can't afford it. It's going to be worse for us to keep Emery. You know, how much is his payout? 6 to 9 million or something like that if we got rid of him now? I think that, it'd be better off paying 6 million to him than losing 20, 30 million by not qualifying for any European competitions. You know, it just makes more sense to me. With someone like Rafa Benitez, I think he would shore up, bring him in as an interim, see how he gets on between January and the end of the season. You know, just to shore up the squad a bit and, give us a fighting chance.
Is the squad that bad? Ross says, says we have a decent squad of players. We just need a motivator. I think a motivator, maybe a leader,
We haven't got bad. No, I don't think anyone's not. Sorry, go on. Go on, Jerome.
Last week for me, Mike brought the shout, and since then, I've contemplated it 4 or 5 times, and I can't think of a better shout. We talk about not going for a major name, and Nuno Santo isn't a major name, but I feel that he would probably come in and assure us and probably play better football. We play better football. I feel we'd be a different team. Because, as I say, I joked around last week, and I said it, and I've said it before. I joked around with Sean Dyche because I wanted someone to assure us, but Nuno Santo would actually assure us and play us better football. I can't really think of a better shout. I don't really want the Rafa Benitez. I don't, because I just feel he'd just be here for the money. Would he guarantee us a job? He might do a half decent job, but he's not going to be in it for the long haul.
I don't think he'd be Mourinho, would he? Really?
No.
Probably less divisive.
Thing is, though, that I think tactically that they're not on the cutting edge anymore. Benitez is not cutting edge. Mourinho is no longer cutting edge. End of the day, we are up against some of the best coaches who have had years behind them and money behind them. Klopp is in his third or fourth year, I think. He's had a lot of money put behind him. Same with Pep. He's in his 4th year, and they started building the club for him 2 years before he got there. So these are the cutting edge coaches. Brendan Rodgers is pulling up trees. But we need a coach that tactically is at the head of the game, not coaches that were doing it 10 years ago. Mourinho hasn't really done anything new. He hasn't really changed things. He's just parked the bus and hoped for for a 1-0 win. He did that with squads that were better than what he ended up with, and he ended up pissing off half the squad when he did it. Rafa Benitez had a decent fist of it at Newcastle, and he did a good job. And his reward is the China money train. Good luck to him.
12 million.
Could you really see us paying £230,000 a week for the manager? Because that's what £12 million a year is
for an invisible man.
But I'm sure if who re-signed Ozil on $350 a week?
Gazidis.
Under Wenger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it was. Well, then Wenger has to be on £351,000 a week because Wenger insisted that he was the most highly paid manager, a highly paid person at the club. Otherwise, he was undermined by these overpaid millionaires, as some of us say.
And he was on 13 or 14 million a year when he left.
I'm going to say, yeah. Didn't he sign a contract? His last 2-year contract was something like 15 million a year or something.
Yeah.
Listen, he's got a new job. He's working for FIFA, and he is the head of global development for FIFA on football. So at least, I think that's a good job for him, if I'm honest. I'm glad he hasn't gone to... There was talk of Bayern Munich, and there was talk of Man United. There's talk of all various different clubs and so on. Because, if we do eventually get back into the Champions League,
we're going to end up getting drawn against any team that he was actually
exactly.
And then that'd have been perfect.
As much as I would have sang "There's one Arsene Wenger" and everything else like that to him, as a mark of respect, because I've got a lot of time for him. Did think it was time for him to go, as we've done to death, but I just didn't want that to occur, because you'd have more aggro in the stands and everything else. But one thing that he's responsible for development of youth football, development of the men's game and the women's game, and the IFAB, which is, I can't remember what exactly it stands for, but IFAB are the people who look after things like VAR. And, Neil Solbrick is quite pleased. He gives himself 7 out of 10 for VAR so far. Lads, we've really overrun. But can I just ask what, as a more or less a closing thing, what you think your score at 10 for VAR is? Let's start with Johnny.
-31.
-31. Okay. Why?
Because as a fan that really enjoys I go to the Emirates for the atmosphere. It's my football family that got me through, a mentally tough time, and it helped me a great deal to be part of a positive, charged atmosphere. And VAR kills it. It absolutely kills the vibe in the stadium. I mean, you have that initial rush of, oh yes, we've scored, and then
we had it the other week, didn't we, against Palace?
Yeah, with the penalty and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
and it just kills the vibe in the stadium, and it's not directed at the guy in the stadium. We've said it before. It's directed at the guy sitting at home watching it on the TV.
When I watch it at home on telly, it's a little bit of a joke still, but
you know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. But that Palace one, and even the Spurs ones who were up in at Everton, that was a joke. 4 minutes. It's absolutely shocking. For me, I like the idea of the technology. I know I should wait till be last. I like the idea of the technology. I think it's a form of progression, but for me, it's probably a 4 or 5 out of 10. It needs a lot of work and a lot of changing, and the rules, the offside side of things, and the lines and everything else. Jerome, what do you think?
I think it's a 4 or 5, but it isn't the technology I've got a problem with. It's the way they're using it. It's the actual users back at Stockley Park. That's who kill it. If you're going to get it right, no problem. If I'm getting stands and I'm cheering like I am in the North Bank, yeah, then it's not a goal. If it's fair, that's the rule, no problem. But you look at Sunday. Man City versus Liverpool. That was a blatant handball. Why wasn't it given?
You're talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Agreed. That was a handball. Why wasn't it given? That changes the game. So if you're going to do it,
it's still down to subjective views at the end of the day, and it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. But then we look at what couple of weeks ago, was it Everton conceded a penalty by he stepped on his foot when he wasn't looking at the ball?
Yes.
So, there's no consistency, like we say, and it has to just be right. If it's a handball, it's a handball. You can't give a foul for stepping on someone. We'll be giving that all day long. So it's the decisions at Stockley Park which are ruining the game. I've got no problem with VAR. If he's a millimetre offside, we know he's offside. Simple. Oh, well, everyone's getting the same treatment. We hate it, but everyone's the same. But we need the rest of it to be consistent now.
It's the same thing with goal line technology. You're either onside or you're not. It's either over the line or you're not. But with the goal line technology, it's a clear criteria. It's the whole of the ball and the whole of the line.
Yeah.
Whereas
I think with the offside thing, where they're looking like the Sheffield United one,
what part of the person it is offside.
Yeah, they drew the line on the Sheffield United guy on the Tottenham knee, and his knee was actually beyond the line, and they lined it up with the Sheffield United striker, and it was the blur of his foot moving is what they made him offside on. His foot's moving.
The thing is, the rules say it has to be a part of the player that can legally score a goal.
Yeah, kind of blur.
So it can't be an arm and it can't be an elbow or anything like that. It has to be something that you can apart from anything from the shoulder to the tip of your finger. If that's in it, then you're not offside. But you can have your hand, your arse, your elbow, your heel. It doesn't matter. All the rest of it, you can legally score a goal with. So therefore, you're offside. Or there's a point. I think I was listening to Arsblog or Arscast or whatever, and they were saying it should be like sprinting. When you go across the photo finish, it's your chest. Choose one bit and say that is it. But the fact of the matter is, you don't see any sprinters running towards the line and then sticking their leg out. Whereas with a footballer getting a ball past them near the box, their foot could well be the thing that's going towards the ball, going in for the goal. So they have to be considered.
Right, lads, it has been.
Can I just point out something on VAR? Everyone's talking about these. I'm going to say everyone's talking about these guys in the vans and this other thing. And
I know you got a nice phrase.
Talk about the screen.
And the referee has got a perfectly good HD, LED, TV, whatever. It could be an OLED one. It could be whatever it wants. He's got a perfectly good one of them at the side of the stands, right where the dugouts are. Not one referee from the Premier League has looked at that television screen.
120 games now.
Yeah. Under instruction. They've been told by the league not to do it because they feel that it would take too long.
Well, if it takes 4 minutes for a guy in a van, it can take him 2 minutes just to go across to the screen, have a look for himself. It's not difficult. At the end of the day, that's what it's there for. Get it used. If there's any doubt whatsoever, if the guy in the bloody van's too busy doing what he's doing, and we all know what I think they're doing.
Pornhub on the third screen.
Well, let's make some noise.
If you see the van rocking, don't come a knocking.
That's what I was just going to use that phrase. Listen, last thing before we finish. Europa League games, are they included in the 6?
Should be.
My view.
Should be.
6 games too late.
Probably even a few more, but are they included in the 6?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Should be all games. He should be fighting for his life because we're fighting for our club.
Yeah. Listen, Mike, Johnny, Jerome, thank you very much for joining us. I do hope you've enjoyed being on Guns and Yellow Ribbons Live again. We will put this up on, this will be on YouTube, it'll be on Facebook, and I'll post it on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter at Guns and Ribbons, and you can see us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Our website has gone down briefly. We've had some issues with the domain and stuff like that, but that's getting sorted behind the scenes. See, Boston is still there. He's still ticking away and working.
He needs to come on here.
To be honest, I did message him when Trev said he couldn't make it. I said, "Can you come on? You got an hour?" And he went, "No, I'm literally about to go into a meeting." He's in Boston in America, so you know
he needs to rig in sick.
Yeah,
At least
he
once.
pull a sickie.
Once a season. We don't ask for much.
Yeah, and Melina says we have got an Arsenal-free, stress-free weekend, so everyone should enjoy the weekend. What have we got? Heath, top show. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Listen, the audio will be up on Spotify. It'll be on SoundCloud, iTunes, everything else. If you like this stuff, if you like what we do, look, we are just Arsenal fans. As our strapline goes, we're by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. If you like what we do, tell your friends, share it, join in with us. You know, if you chat in the chat on either Facebook or on YouTube, your questions pop up along the side of our screen over that side of that screen over there, and we can pop them up if they're really good. Joanne, really appreciate your input, especially on the We Care side of things, and will message you separately, and hopefully we'll try and do something over the international break. I do know Big Steve is doing his 1 to 11 on Sunday at 2 p.m. So if you want to watch that with Potsy, that's coming up. And we have got the Southampton game after the international break. So yeah. And Heath has stole my line. Up the arse. Thank you, Tommy.